right. Well, good morning and welcome to another 126 Collective. I'm super excited today to be coming to you guys live from Glacier National Park. I did take this week off, my first vacation week of the year, from my regular coaching calls, but I did not want any interruption in our schedule here. And it's been a wonderful experience. Last week we were in Yellowstone all week. This week we're in Glacier. Next week we go back to Yellowstone and then to Grand Teton, and then I'll work my way back. So Yellowstone is so big, 2.2 million acres, that you got to kind of split that up to be able to see both sides of it. I'm sure you all have heard that there are some terrible forest fires out west. Some of them natural, started by lightning, to be expected, and some of them started by arson, and which is tragic and very sad. So you can see the faint outline back there of something that's actually over 8,000 feet above sea level, and that is One Shot Mountain. And I wanted to do this inside the park. We're actually at a campground right outside the park. But the signal, even with my Starlink, thank you, Elon Musk, it's tough to get that inside the park. Plus, there's a lot of traffic there. But we have seen some amazing things, and I hope you guys can you see that? Can you see that? It doesn't look that big, does it, in the screen? But it's really, really big and really beautiful, really beautiful. We got to kayak yesterday in a glacier lake, so come on. What a life. Anyway, I want to talk today about Esther, and I'm super excited about this. You are probably, regardless of whether you're a believer or not, you're probably very familiar, at least somewhat familiar, with the story of Esther, because one of the lines in this book in the Bible has been quoted in many different places and times, and it's this: perhaps you were brought into this place for such a time as this, for such a time as this. And so I want to talk about the law of timing a little bit today, but I want to start with this quote from Winston Churchill that I love, and I meant to put it on the handout and I just forgot to do it, but I'll use it. Winston Churchill says this: "There comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. That special opportunity, when he seizes it, will fulfill his mission, a mission for which he is uniquely qualified. In that moment, he finds greatness. It is his finest hour." And I love that quote so much because, and I don't know that it's, in my life, it doesn't feel like it's been one, but it feels like it's been a succession of those moments that has allowed me to live more fully into who I think I've been called to be. And I'll tell you, I'm kind of in that place right now. I'm about to be 62, and, being in this kind of an environment and thinking, what next? What next? So I hope that today you'll be able to think about some of the things we talk about in terms of where you are today. It doesn't have to be some grand tomorrow, but perhaps just where you are today and what you may be being called to step into today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Whoops. Nope, that was not share. Let's find it. This is going to be good. Share. There we go. Okay, so can you guys see that? Make that a little bigger. All right, so hopefully you got the handout. I sent that out this morning. And so I want to read just part of Esther. And if you have not read the book of Esther, it's not a very long book in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament, and it's a great story. There have been movies made about it. I found one on Amazon Prime. It's kind of cheesy, but the concept of Esther has been told time and time again. And so I want to read just a section of Esther, and this is from chapter 4, verses 6 through 17. I'm reading from the English Standard Version. Hathach went out to Mordecai in the open square of the city in front of the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay into the king's treasuries for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for their destruction, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her and command her to go to the king to beg his favor and plead with him on behalf of her people. And Hathach went and told Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and commanded him to go to Mordecai and say, all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law: to be put to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter so that he may live. But as for me, I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. And they told Mordecai what Esther had said. Then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa, and hold a fast on my behalf, and do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my young women will also fast as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. Mordecai then went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. So I will back up and set the scene and let you know a little bit about what's going on in the story here. And this is during the Jewish exile in Persia. So lots of things have happened. We've talked about other in this sort of chronology in past 126 collective episodes, but the Jews were overtaken by Babylon, and then Persia overtakes Babylon. So now the Jews are all in exile in Persia. And so Esther, who is a young Jewish woman, she's an orphan. She's lost her mother and father. And her cousin Mordecai has taken over as her caregiver. She, during a strange series of events, Ahasuerus, and some of your scripture will say Artaxerxes. No, I'm sorry. What is the other name? My Bible says Ahasuerus, but anyway, maybe it's just Xerxes. But anyway, he throws this big lavish party that lasts months, and at the end of it, he insists that his wife, Queen Vashti, be brought out and paraded before all the people that are in attendance for the party. Now, I've done some deep study on this, and there is some indication that perhaps what he wanted was her to be paraded around naked. And so she refuses. He dethrones her, and his advisors, I'm using air quotes because these are not great guys, tell him that he should have a beauty pageant, essentially, and pick somebody to take her place. So thus begins this story of Esther, whose Jewish name is Hadassah. She's ultimately chosen as the new queen. And so it's a great story if you read it. It's funny because some people try to make it into this like amazing love story. It's pretty tragic, actually, if you think about it. Hundreds of young virgins are brought in, kept for a year. They're sort of given all these beauty makeover treatments, and then the king sort of cycles through them until he picks the one he wants. So it's not really a love story. It's quite tragic, but she does step into this calling, with grace. But in the process of this, she's hidden her Jewish identity, and so now there's a guy named Haman who's the king's chief advisor, and he's decided he wants to destroy all the Jews. This is a recurring theme throughout scripture, and even today, where people there are so many groups of people that just have it out for the Jews and want them destroyed. So nothing has really changed. Anti-Semitism is as old as time itself, it seems like. But Mordecai refuses to bow to Haman. Haman's made up this rule that everyone should bow down to him when he walks by, and Haman just won't do it. He says, I will kneel before no one but God. So Haman plans, this thing where he gets the king to sign off on it, and he's going at a certain date, going to kill every Jew in the entire province. So this is where Mordecai goes to through one of the eunuchs, goes and gets this message to Esther. She doesn't want to go before the king, because if you're not called before the king, you get put to death. But this is when Mordecai tells her. So Mordecai's really quite a hero in this story. We'll talk about that. But he tells her, if you don't do this, if you don't go to the king and ask for this to be changed, don't think you're going to escape one way or another. You're going to have to pay the price. And if you don't do this, something else will come along to save us. But perhaps you were brought into the kingdom for such a time as this. So Esther at that point decides, as I read, that she is going to take a chance. And as she says, if I perish, I perish. So that sort of sets the scene for where we are today. And so I thought about the law of timing, which says that when to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. So timing can be everything. And so leadership isn't just about knowing the right answer. It's about knowing when the moment is ripe. So it's about making the right decision at the right time. So I want to think about this next little section here, and I hope you have something to write with, because I want to give you these sort of 6 steps that I have seen over and over. So we're in whatever week we're in now, or whatever session we're in, 14 or 15 something. And there seems to be this pattern throughout Scripture that I think has so much to teach us. And I hope that it will land for you today the way that it has for me. But the truth is that we're often prepared long before we get the opportunity to lead. Who is it that said that luck is when preparation and opportunity meet? Right? You probably have heard that said. And so it doesn't generally just get thrust upon us. It may feel like that sometimes, but if we stop and reflect, I think we can all see that oftentimes when preparation meets providence, that's when ordinary people become extraordinary leaders. So the word providence, which I've chosen to use throughout your handout today, comes from these 2 words: pro, which means before, and video, which means to see. So providence is seeing before. And so providence can feel like, so if you're a person of faith, you might say that it's divine timing. If you're not a person of faith, I think you would still agree that sometimes things just feel like providence, like you were prepared before for something that maybe you didn't even see, and now that opportunity shows up. So that's kind of how I'm using providence. And as John Maxwell says, only the right action at the right time will bring success. So we're going to talk about timing. So see if you can maybe just jot these down, these sort of 6 steps that I've seen over and over again throughout the different lessons that we've been talking about. Number 1, God goes first. Like, it seems that there's always an interesting side note in the book of Esther. The word God, Yahweh, Adonai, none of the titles of God is mentioned at all in the book. And yet he's everywhere throughout it. And so scholars have speculated over the centuries, should this book even be in the Hebrew Bible, since the name of God is not there? But ultimately, wise people understood that that's part of our challenge. Like, if we need him to show up in a burning bush before anything gets done, most of us are going to sit on our tuchuses and not do anything. It's learning how to sense his presence and his guiding hand throughout all of our lives. So it always seems to be that God goes first. We could talk about Moses. We could talk about Noah. We could talk about Joseph. Like there's all of these ideas where in scripture where God goes first. That seems to be step one because he's the one with the plan. Number two, he looks for a person who will ultimately obey, who will submit. So God has this idea, this plan. He's looking for someone, in this case, in a sense, Mordecai, but also Esther. He looks for someone who will ultimately submit to his will or obey. That's what he's looking for. So if he's looking for that in these great biblical figures, then he's probably looking for that in us as well. So this lesson, I will tell you guys, side note here, like I'm preaching to myself so much in this lesson. It's really in this last 2 weeks as I've been preparing and thinking and studying and reading, it really has been landing on me in ways that, man, if we were just sitting down with a cup of coffee, I'd love to talk about it. But he's looking for somebody that's going to obey. Step 3, he makes them aware of a need. He makes them aware. You can think back, you could go back, and if you've been attending regularly or at all, you can look at any of the handouts and you're going to see if I've chosen a leader, it's because they become aware of something that needs to be done. So in this case, we're talking about Esther, but because she was the one that took the greatest risk in stepping before the king without being asked to. But Mordecai also becomes aware of a need. Right? In fact, he's the one that makes Esther aware of the true need. So think about it in your own life when you become aware something needs to be done. And we talk about leadership and we have, I think, this sense that leadership is leading other people. And often it is. Often it is. But I don't have a team of people under me. I have some people that I pay to do some work for me virtually, but they don't work for me. You may be in that same position. You may not have a team of people that respond to you. That doesn't mean we're not leaders, right? Leadership's different. It's stepping into something. It's becoming aware of a need around you. Step 4, the need becomes the person's personal burden or their personal mission. Right? So you become aware of a need and all of a sudden you realize I must do something. Now that need out there becomes your mission. It becomes a burden on your heart and you feel called to do something about it. Step 5, they ultimately become feel compelled to act. It's one thing to feel a burden, to feel a need. It's another thing to be compelled, like, okay, now I got to do something. I got to do something. Right. And so that you can sense a need. You don't take any action on it. It just keeps you up at night and you cry about it. Or it bothers you. It irks you. But it's that point where you become compelled to act. That is such a key piece of this. I mean, we could think back to Noah. uh, he becomes aware that God is going to destroy the earth and he's got to build this boat in the desert, right? And so he had to pick up that first piece of wood or that saw and a hammer to get started. So ultimately, you have to feel compelled to act. And then finally, step 6, the vision becomes real as others are called to join the cause. So that's when it becomes real, right? It's that final piece. And all of the people we've been studying so far this year, that's the one thing that they do definitely all have. Well, I think they have all 6 of these, but that they all have in common is that ultimately other people are called to join them. And here's the interesting part. It's often at great personal risk for everybody involved. And that's the case with Esther and Mordecai and this story. So if I look at those 6 steps, God goes first. He looks for a person who's willing to obey or submit. He makes them aware of a need. And then that need becomes that person's personal burden or mission. And then they ultimately feel compelled to act. And then other people are called to join them. That's leadership. John Maxwell says that leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And those 6 steps, I think, describe the beginnings, and the ultimate fruition of leadership, of influence. That's what you and I are called to. And so I love the way that it plays out in Esther's story. So I'll go back and share my screen again if I can find the share button. Is that it? Share. Okay. So let's look at some leadership principles I think we can all discern from Esther. Great leaders recognize the moment. So, Mordecai comes along and he helps Esther see how urgent this situation is. And he tells her, perhaps you were brought into the kingdom for such a time as this. Like, this is your time. This is your time. And so I think leadership begins when you recognize that your influence is needed. Where is somewhere in your life that you feel like someone needs to do something or say something or become something? Because you can't seize an opportunity that you fail to recognize. So I think you and I, as leaders, have to keep our eyes and ears and our hearts open and be willing to recognize when are we being called to step up and say something. This could be in a personal relationship. This could be in your family. It could be in your work. It could be in your community, in your church, wherever you find yourself. Even if you don't think of yourself as a leader with a team of people that support you, where are you staying open and aware to find out, is this a moment that I need to take action? Right. So we got to recognize those opportunities. We can't do that if we're not constantly staying in an open state. Number two, great leaders don't let fear determine their timing. So Esther certainly had reason to be afraid. If she goes before Ahasuerus without being called to him, if he doesn't extend his golden scepter, thank God we don't live in times like that anymore. She's put to death, despite how much he's grown to love her or take care of her, all the things. You can read this short book in scripture and learn a little bit more about their relationship. But it was a risky thing. Most of us aren't taking that kind of risk. So I think as a leader, we all face moments when something is telling us, no, now's not the time. Maybe for you, it's just like you need to say something in a relationship that you have personally or professionally. Like it's time to say something. And that fear is telling you, no, now's not the right time. But when the wiser we become, the more we ask, is this a providential time? So fear should inform your decision, but never control it. Before we started out on this trip, we were told, you have to have bear spray in Yellowstone, in Glacier, and Grand. Like you have to have bear spray. There are grizzly bears here. Now, thankfully, I have not seen one yet, and I hope I don't. Like I'm not interested. Friends that we're camping with, they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and want to see the moose, and we've seen moose and bison and deer and all kinds of things. I'm looking across the field here at a chipmunk. We've seen all kinds of amazing critters, but I really came here for the beautiful mountains and the lakes. I just wanted to see, like, I've lived in flatland my whole life. I'm from New Orleans originally, 8 feet, 9 feet below sea level. Now I live in Daytona Beach, Florida, at sea level. So I've just always been a flatlander, not a flat earther, but a flatlander. And so these mountains just, it's just, there's a part of me that just, I can't take it in sometimes. I lose words just like I'm doing right now just to see this. And I know some of you do live in beautiful mountains, and so this isn't new to you, but it's just incredible. But anyway, so we're told to get bear spray. Don't go anywhere without bear spray. My husband's like, I got my gun. We're fine. I'm like, I'm not using a gun. I don't think you can shoot bears unless it's the last resort. So we get the bear spray. And we carry the bear spray. And hopefully we will not need the bear spray. In fact, all the stores around here say no returns on bear spray, which means most people probably don't encounter bears. But twice this year in Glacier, people have been attacked by bears. And I guess attack is not really the right word. One guy apparently he and a bear sort of scared each other, and the bear ended up breaking his arm, but he survived. Another guy went hiking alone, which they tell you to never do, and he went missing. And a few days later, somebody found his body, and he had been mauled by a bear. I'm not interested in going this way. I've had a long talk with God and said, look, there's a lot of ways you could take me. Let's don't let a bear mauling be the way. So I don't care if I don't see a bear here. But that fear of bears has informed our decisions. So they want you to chatter a lot on the trail, sing, don't be quiet, which is easy for me to chatter a lot on the trail. Those of you who know me, and my husband's a talker too, but we take the bear spray. Um, so fear is informing our decision, but it's not controlling it. I'm not going to sit in my camper and miss the sights that I've seen for fear of encountering a bear. Unlike this other guy who goes hiking by himself, he probably should have been a little more fearful. There's safety in numbers. So it's the truth too about leadership. Like fear should inform us. If you're just, you know, um, bulldozing your way through life and running over people and situations without any fear, that's not really wise. So are you using fear, I think, the way that it was designed to be used? So I don't want fear to control me. Don't let fear control you either. Number three, great leaders recognize their unique position. Unique. So Mordecai challenges Esther. And remember now, she's a young girl. There's a very good chance that she's not even yet uh, in her 20s. So it's quite a responsibility for an orphaned Jewish girl who is growing up in exile, right? Which means there's no position that she could hold of honor. First of all, she's an orphan, she's unmarried, she's a Jew, she's in exile. Like this is a big deal. And Mordecai is the one that really challenges her to step into that. So whether you talk about it as providence or purpose or just the opportunities that your life has placed before you, like your time to exert influence is not something to waste. And I think that, part of this is for us all, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, to think, like, if I think back, I'm almost 62, and if I just think back to all these moments in my life that I can really pinpoint, some big, some small, where I've actually been being prepared for where I am today. And I have to trust that I will have the right guidance, the right wisdom, and the Mordecais in my life that are going to push me to whatever's next for me. I spent a lot of my time up until my, probably early 40s, when I would look in the rearview mirror of my life, all I would see was mistakes and failures. Like I was my own worst enemy. And all I would think to myself is if I just try harder, I got to be better, I got to do all of these things, that it was all up to me, to fix all the things that I had broken in my life. And things have changed a lot for me in the last 14, 15 years now. And certainly still as a coach, and I know some of you here are coaches, we know that like we do have to challenge people to sort of take action to make sure that they're focusing on what they can control, and that they're focusing on what they have, and they're focusing on where they are and where they're going. All of that, I don't negate any of that. That's all important. But there's something about understanding that even the failures um, work together to prepare us for what's next. The beauty about, for me at least, being a believer now is understanding that it really isn't all up to me. In fact, it never was. I'm a partner, right? I'm a partner with Providence. I am not Providence. I am not God, but I want to be his partner. And to be like God is to be a creator, right? Is to be a creator. I can go back to why did I choose to call this series the 126 Collective? Because in Genesis 126, God calls us to work, to steward, to create all of those things. And so hopefully, you're kind of with me there. We are all going to find ourselves placed in unique positions throughout our lives. And if we can look back, not like me, just at all my failures and all the things I screwed up, but how everything, good, bad, and neutral, was coming together to prepare me for such a time as this. So I hope that you can see that for yourself as well. So instead of asking, what should I do? Ask, why am I in this position and how can I use my influence to serve others? Look, you may be in the middle of your dream job. You may be, whatever your career is right now, you may think, this is what I was born for. I know I'm like Esther. I'm here for such a time as this. This is what I'm called to do. You feel like Noah or Moses, like you're on mission. You may be doing something that's not thrilling you right now. Maybe it's paying the bills, but it may not be giving you the juice that you really seek in life. And like I say, if you've ever attended my business planning clinic, I say this: if you're not willing to give your all to where you're currently at, why would life offer you anything else? So it's like, look, let's just give it everything we've got, and know that we're being prepared for something, right? How can I use my influence to serve others now? And I'm not saying we're proving ourselves. That's not what I'm saying. But I am suggesting that life does seem to reward people who show up fully where they are, seem to get more opportunities, right? We've talked about that in other sessions. So how can you give your all to what you have? I heard a story recently that I thought was really great. And it said a woman goes to her pastor and says, look, I got to leave my husband. This guy's a jerk. He's no good. He doesn't take care of me. He's just mean. I don't want anything to do with him. You got to help me. And the pastor says, okay, great. I got a plan. For the next 90 days, you just overserve your husband. You are there for him every step of the way. You love him. You take care of him. He never has to ask for anything. You just show up and you serve his needs at the highest level. You really give it to him. And then in 90 days, come back and I'll give you the plan to leave him. And she says, great. And so guess what happens? She never goes back. She never goes back because she showed up every day and served her husband. What would that elicit from her husband? Right? The love that she was actually craving. So I could reverse that and say it was a husband and a wife. You get my point there, right? So if we truly believe that God is at work preparing and positioning us for his purposes, then I think it's that opportunity to show up every day and serve at the highest level we can. So here's my leadership truth for that one. Great leaders recognize that their position carries both opportunity and responsibility. Opportunity and responsibility. So our next leadership lesson: great leaders prepare before they act. So when the message gets to Esther that Haman has gotten the king to sign this decree that at this point, I think it's like 13 months later, all the Jews were going to be wiped out. Esther doesn't just drop everything and run to the king and take her chances. She calls for 3 days of fasting. And she says to Hathach to tell Mordecai, have all the Jews in the province to fast for 3 days. Eat, drink, nothing. Fasting, if you know anything about it in the biblical world, would be, it's not just about abstaining from food. It's about being prayerful and giving all of your attention to God. And so she calls for 3 days of fasting. She and all of her ladies attendants are going to fast as well, because she feels the urgency, but she's not going to act recklessly. So she prepares before she takes that action. And so John Maxwell says that timing isn't an impulsive thing. Knowing the time to act doesn't mean you pull the trigger right now. Now, I will tell you that if a bear is coming upon me, I will pull out the bear spray and use it. I've been, sort of practicing, but the point is, it's about being prepared. It's about having the wise counsel, and it is about being courageous. So the framework here is evaluating the needs around you. Like, what is going on in your world, personally, professionally, familially, or, in your community? And then sort of seeing what, based on the opportunities, I mean, the needs around you, what are the opportunities that are before you? Where do you have some skill or influence or experience that you can bring to any given situation? Who are the trusted voices behind you? Who are the Mordecais in your life? Do you have someone who is willing to tell you the truth? We've talked about that in multiple sessions. There always seems to be, or often seems to be, should I say, another voice. Remember Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, when Moses is trying to hear the cases, the arguments, and the complaints for 2 million Jews who have just been released from slavery and have no idea how to live in a civil society. And when Jethro comes along, he says, Moses, what you're doing is not good. Right. And he gives him that wise counsel. You need to select good men to take on these cases in other groups. So it is about having that wise counsel. Who's the Mordecai or the Jethro in your life? And then what have you done in the past that has prepared you? That's what we're talking about today. Esther becomes the queen that she is. Part of the story talks about she's in for a year with the eunuch. I forgot his name. Anyway, who takes a liking to her because she's just graceful and kind. And so he sort of, gives her a few extra beauty tips, if you will. But she's being prepared to become a queen through all of these people that are around her. And so she would have not, as a young orphan, being raised by her cousin in exile, she wouldn't have had all of what she needed to be able to take this chance and go before the king, before King Ahasuerus, if she didn't have all of those past experiences that led her to be essentially the savior of her people at this point. So, if you can think about courage, and I think that confidence and courage come from competence, it comes from doing something. Um, so think about that. When you think about what am I being called to step into in terms of leadership? Like what's going on around me, right? What are the opportunities that are even in front of me? Who are the trusted voices? Who are the people that I allow to speak into me? Because there comes a time when you got some great friends and family members and they want the best for you, and they may tell you all kinds of things that's just terrible advice. Has anybody but me ever had that? Somebody that, you really care about and they care about you, but they give you horrible advice. Uh, and it's mostly because they don't want you to suffer. And so they want to find the quickest way to get you out of suffering, because if you suffer, they suffer. And so they may be very well meaning, but they're not the voices that need to be speaking truth into you. You need someone that's willing to tell you and call you out when you're not taking right action. And then think about, what are all the past experiences you've had? How do those things come into play today? And then allow that reflection on all of those things to help you build the courage. If courage and confidence come from competence, sometimes it takes a quick peek in the rearview mirror to see, wow, I've actually been being prepared for this. If you're thinking about a career change, you're thinking about a different direction for your business, you're thinking about a new business altogether, all of these things are going to come together to help build that confidence within you. So intentional preparation positions leaders to act with confidence when the moment comes, right? Does that make sense? So I think these are some great lessons we can learn from Esther. So I want us to I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to just think about some of these questions. Because I think they all are important as we think about this lesson, especially on timing. Have you ever made the right decision at the wrong time? I know I've done that. I've also made the wrong decision at the wrong time. But sometimes, you've made the right decision, but the timing is off. And that can lead you to be really discouraged. Like, maybe I'm not meant to X, Y, or Z. No, maybe it's just the wrong time. Maybe it's just the wrong time. Maybe you need a little more time. like Esther. Maybe you need a few days, weeks, months to sort of prepare, to be more submitted and obedient to what God may be calling you to do, or providence, if that's a better word for you, right? Um, maybe you need some voices. Maybe you need some Mordecai. Maybe you need to reflect more on your past experiences and how they may be positioning you today. And then the second question is, why is timing often one of the hardest parts of leadership? Have you ever found yourself like really excited about something and you really are ready to just take action? You can't wait. You're impatient. Anybody besides me impatient? Want it now? Want it yesterday? Want it soon? And struggle like, why can't I take action on this thing that I know I really want to do? I mean, I'm in that position right now, right? There's a part of me that knows that each of these studies that I'm preparing for and doing is going to lead to something. And I feel like part of me feels like I want to do it now. I want to do it now. It's not the right time. Each of these lessons, I mean, I hope that it's adding value to you. And that it's helping you to think differently. But these are for me too. These are for me too. Do they become a book, a course? I don't know. I don't really know what happens next. But part of me wants to like hurry up, hurry up. I'm old. I'm 62. I'm not old, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'm feeling the clock is ticking. As the saying goes, when you get over the hill, you pick up speed. And so I do get frustrated sometimes. Like I want to do something and I don't want to wait. I've always been impatient. And if you think that everything depends on you, then you could think, well, yeah, I got to take action today. But when you realize that if you're a partner with your creator, then it's his timing, not yours. It's being aware of when that is going to come together. Um, Yeah, somebody says, oh, absolutely. Okay, good. Well, that means you are getting some value now. But I hope that you'll be thinking about these things. Okay, number 3, where are you uniquely positioned? But here's the key part: right now, today. Um, have you? This is a bumper sticker. I'm pretty sure it says "Bloom where you're planted." That could be hard. If you don't love where you've been planted, it can be hard to want to bloom there. I think of my work in my church, and like there's so much more I want to do, but I'm doing what I've been called to do. I've created a discipleship curriculum for the church, and now we're ready to roll it out. And I've gotten a good, decent number of women that have stepped up and said, yes, I will take someone through this 12-week curriculum. And I got like 2 guys. And I want it to happen faster. I don't know how to get them out of, that whatever it is that's holding them back. I don't know if it's fear, complacency, or whatever. But it's like I want to go, 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 and I don't want to just start with what I have. I want more, but I'm uniquely positioned. This is where I'm planted. I got to work with what I've got. Right. So there may be an area of your life where you feel the same way. Like it's really stopping to understand, where am I uniquely positioned right now, today, not 5 years from now, letting it all unfold. But taking action right now is going to depend on the needs around me, the opportunities before me, the voices that speak into me, all of my past experiences, and then the courage that I'm gaining each and every day. And then question 4, it's a good one. What fear is keeping you from taking that next step? What fear? We need to look them in the eyes. Don't look the bear in the eye. Well, actually, they say if you see the bear, act calm. Get a load of this. You gotta look up bear safety if you really just want to laugh at what people think. You remain calm. You speak in a calm voice. And then you can raise your arms because somehow, I guess that makes you look bigger. And oftentimes the bear will just go away. If the bear does charge you, lay down on the ground. Get a load of this one. Lay down on the ground on your stomach and clasp your hands behind the back of your neck because apparently they'll just like, I don't know, claw your head off or something. And just lay there and take it, I guess. If the bear ultimately does not stop mauling you, you can try hitting it in its face. And so I just, I don't know. Like every time I think about it, I think, what am I doing? I'm hiking on a trail where I'm supposed to think like, hello, bear. I'm remaining calm. Please go away and do not maul me. But if you do, let me lay on my stomach and cover the back of my neck. I'm thinking if that bear mauls me, I'm hoping he just and just gets me so I don't experience the mauling, but am killed instantly. But anyway, I hopefully none of us right now, in terms of our business, our personal life, or our ministry, whatever it is, hopefully none of us are facing being mauled by a bear. Right? I'm just trying to give us some perspective here. The action that you're being called to take as a leader, whether you got a team of people or you just understand that leadership is not about having a bunch of people following you. Does leadership usually result in that? Yeah, that was my step 6. When others are called to join your cause or the cause, right? Because they see what you've stepped up to do. If you think you need a team in order to lead, you got it backwards. You start to lead, and ultimately, people are going to follow you. People are going to follow you. So, what fear is keeping you from taking that next step? I mean, unless you're up here with me in Glacier, walking around with bear spray, trying to make enough noise to not scare a bear, um, probably you and I, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then number 5, who are the Mordecais in your life? These are the people who lovingly challenge and encourage you. Look, we all need encouragers. Don't you love people who encourage you? They're cheerleaders. Go, you got it. You can do it. Like, as a coach, I get to do that, and I love that part of it. But if that's all I did, nobody would pay me for that. Nobody wants to pay me to be their friend. I'm not that dumb. Um, and look, I'm an ID on the disc. That's the persuader, which is good, but it also means I'm a people pleaser. I want people to like me, and I hope you do too. Like it's kind of weird. People who don't want to be liked, they got something amiss in their brain, but hopefully I do more than encourage people. I got to challenge them. And I do. And it's hard. Sometimes it's hard, especially if I know they're hurting and I know that the best thing I can do is challenge them, right? If they've got a thorn, I want to help them pull the thorn. I don't want to help them build a protective device around the thorn that they then have to take care of. There was a book I read years ago called The Untethered Soul, and Mickey Singer talks about that. We all have a thorn somewhere. And he's like, we can either pull the thorn. That hurts though. Or, he describes it as a thorn on your arm, and you build this protective device, and it's glass because you got to be able to see through to make sure the thorn's okay. But then you can't move around too much because you might break the glass, which would then harm the thorn. And then ultimately you end up enclosing yourself in the darkness in your house, and doing anything you can to protect the thorn. And so I think you and I know if we've got a thorn, a splinter, we got to pull it. We got to pull it. That's what challenge is. So who are the people that are willing to challenge you, even if it hurts, because they want the very best for you? Like we all need some Mordecais in our lives. Number 6, what practices help you discern providential timing instead of simply reacting to circumstances? So I think that goes with number 5. If you've got someone who's coaching you, a mentor, someone, a spiritual advisor, someone who can help you determine when that timing is, right? Instead of simply reacting. Or what are the practices? Do you regularly take time to step back and do a version of fasting, right? Which is what Esther did for 3 days. When you see this opportunity or you see a circumstance and you feel like someone needs to step in, um, what are the practices? Is it prayer? Is it meditation? Is it journaling? Is it just taking the time? I like to have people, when they're trying to make a decision. It's the old graph. We've all done it. Pros and cons. Write them down. What I like to do is then take people into the future. if you were to say 3, 5 years from now? What would show up on the pro side of the page if you did take this action, make this decision? And then what would show up on the con side of the page if you didn't? So fast forward into the future, 3, 5 years, and what would your life be like? What will have happened if you take this step or if you don't? Right? Those are important things. I've got a client right now. Her daughter is going to be a junior in high school. She's been invited to attend a very exclusive athletic boarding school in Bradenton, Florida. It's like ING or something like that. It's a big deal. So she's, a 16, 17-year-old girl trying to figure out, do I give up my, living with my family and my friends and doing the things I want to do to go into this boarding school? And so she's really struggling. Can you imagine? I mean, I don't want to make that decision at 62, not much less 16. And so she's really struggling. So I had a call with her because I've worked with this family for a number of years now, and so I've coached the wife, the husband, the kids, um, and so that's what I had her do. Very simply, I had her make the line on the page, and on this side, go to your freshman year of college and describe what has happened in your life, what's changed, who are you, because you did go to the boarding school, because you did go explore this. She's a track and field girl. And then on the other side of the page, go to your freshman year of college. What has happened? Who have you become? What have you done because you didn't go to IMG? And so really just kind of look at that, fast forward into your future. So what are the practices that you have that help you discern what you're supposed to do next? Hopefully you have a method to help you make those decisions. And then final question, is there an opportunity that you may be invited to step into for such a time as this? And I hope you'll take that question and chew on it for the next 2 weeks until we meet again to think about, is there something I'm being invited into for such a time as this? So, this is the quote I have here: courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to lead when the moment demands it. So this week, I want you to, this is going to be your homework. Identify one area where you've been waiting. You've just been waiting. Maybe you felt like the timing hasn't been right, or you haven't known what to do, you're afraid, any of the things that we talked about today. And I want you to ask yourself, so you're going to have to set aside 20 minutes or so, no phones, no computers, just sit down with you and a blank piece of paper and ask yourself, is this my time to wait or is it my time to act? Because both are valid. But if it's time to wait, I want that to be a decision that you make because you understand that the timing is not right. If it's time to act, I really want you to be prepared to do that. And if you reflect on some of the things we've talked about today, I think you'll be able to have that correct discernment. And then ask yourself, what preparation do I still need? Even if you think it's time to act, is there anything else you need to do to prepare to take action in this area of your life? And then ask yourself, who can provide wise counsel? I'm on vacation this week, but I'm always a phone call away. If there's just something that's burning your soul and you really want to talk it through, I'm happy to do that, whether you're my client or not. This is what I'm here for. Maybe I can help you make some decisions. And then finally, what courageous step can you take right now in this area? So if it's time to act, then let's act. If it's time to prepare, then your action step may be about your preparation. So it's all about taking that intentional active step, right? So commit to doing that, because leadership isn't just knowing what to do. It's recognizing when God says now. Now, that's why Esther says, if I perish, I perish. Ultimately, she's listened to wise counsel. She's been made aware of a need, first of all. She's listened to wise counsel, And she's prepared. She's fasted. She's called for a fast of all the people. And she decides to take that step. And she says, if I perish, I perish. Meaning, if she steps up to the king and he doesn't extend the gold scepter, she will be put to death. And not only that, but then all of the Jews will be destroyed a year from then. So she's not, Esther's not some Rambo here. She is acting in courageous obedience and rooted in trust that she had been prepared for this very moment, like Mordecai said. So I think all of us eventually face, and look, I put a defining moment, but I think it's more than one defining moment. Have you had more than one defining moment in your life and career where where I got to do something and I got to do something different? In fact, most of my clients are real estate professionals, and none of them came out of college and got their real estate license. I don't know. I don't think I even know anybody that got into real estate, like went to college or didn't go to college, but decided my first career is realtor. All of them came from some other background. So each of them, myself included, I was in corporate banking for decades. And there came a moment for me, it was Hurricane Katrina, when I realized that it was time for me to do something different. And it was scary. It was scary to get into real estate because, if you don't know anything about real estate agents, you know that if they don't sell something, they don't get paid. It ain't a job. It's a hunting expedition every single day. And if you don't find the beast and kill the beast and bring it home, you don't eat. And so it's very scary. But most of my clients, they know this moment because it was a moment for them too. And in fact, all of my clients are small business owners. So whether they are in insurance or mortgages or real estate or whatever their business is, they all faced a moment when when it was time to act. And some of us can look back and go, "Wow, boy, I walked into that eyes wide shut." And some of us maybe, did have some preparation for it. But however it happened, I think we've all had these defining moments. And the question is whether or not we're going to recognize that moment and then step into it faithfully. So I think if you can go with me on this, I think you can realize that God has been preparing you long before the opportunity arises. And so if we can look at each day as preparation and not just look so anxiously toward the finish line, we can have a very different experience along the way. This thing just, man, I tell you, this week's been it's been good for me to sort of think through this whole thing because I'm impatient. I want to get to the finish line. I want to know what the next big thing is. But I'm being prepared every day, and so are you. So are you. And if you can really reflect back to prior defining moments in your life, you can see that hand, the hand of providence, the hand of God bringing you step by step by step. How much more so when we do that openly and obediently and submissively? How much more will we be prepared? How much more will we experience? How much more opportunity will be given to us if we can recognize that divine hand guiding us every step of the way and become a willing partner? That was my step two. God goes first. Step two, he looks for a person who will obey and submit to him. So I hope that you'll really take this in this week, because I think if you're on this call, whether you're live or you're watching the replay, I think you'll recognize that you're meant for more. We're all meant for more. We're all meant for more. None of us are there. I'm not at the top of the one shot mountain. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. I wish you could see it. I don't know. My screen has so much glare on it. I can see more of it now that the sun has broken through some of this smoke. I hope you will join me in praying for all of the people, the communities, and the life that is in danger because of these fires. Some of you live in areas where, forest fires are a common occurrence. Um, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's scarier. I come from hurricane zone where you at least know they're coming. You got time to pack up and get out of the way. You come back, your stuff might be wet, maybe a tornado and things are blown away. I don't mean to minimize that. Hurricanes are very tragic, but these fires are some scary, scary business here. So I hope you'll join me this week in praying for those that have been affected by that and continue to be affected. Um, Anyway, this has been a great lesson. I hope you've appreciated as much as I have. I'm not telling you the end of the story. You got to go read the book of Esther, and you can see how it all turns out. Does Esther succeed? Does King Ahasuerus extend the golden scepter to her? Do the Jews get wiped out? Well, we know they don't. We know they don't. But remember, Mordecai said, if you don't do this, help's going to come from somewhere. But I'm going to challenge you to go read. It's a short book in the Old Testament, and it's a great story. It's a great story about courage and about faith. So I hope you'll go read it and tell me what you think about it. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great week.